What's going with y'all, man? What's happening, y'all? We back at it again. Gullah Grill TV. You know what I mean? We right back to it. Shit, on y'all way in, go ahead and hit that like, man, for real. Y'all see the title, Black Store Owners in Georgetown, South Carolina. We're gonna be building about that. As far as in the video I played yesterday, they mentioned Front Street, which was, people didn't know, a whole bunch of black businesses on Front Street down there in Georgetown. And I'm gonna build a little bit more about that today. So yeah, man, hope everybody doing all right, safe. You know what I'm saying? Hope y'all day at work or whatnot wasn't too hectic. You know what I mean? Hopefully you at the crib now, chilling. I had your dinner and everything. For sure, man. Yeah, appreciate y'all tuning in again, though, man. For real. Yesterday was a good one. Yesterday was a good one. So I appreciate y'all, all the love, all the new subscribers too. Appreciate y'all, man. I'm sending this link out right now. So we gonna go ahead and get your libations ready. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to sit the move for a little minute, let some people come up in here, send this link out. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we chilling. Gullah Grill TV. Man, yeah, we better go ahead and get to it, man. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all, man. People coming up in here again, hit that like on y'all way in, bro. Hit that like on y'all way in. What's going on with y'all? For sure, we better get things rolling. We better go ahead and get them rolling. Happy Gullah Heritage Month. What's happening, man? Yeah. Appreciate y'all. Everybody go ahead and get this thing rolling, man. I know one of my favorite go-to saying, I ain't gonna hold y'all too long. For real. Shout out to Queen Quet. Shout out to the Gullah Geechee Heritage. You know what I'm saying? Everybody through the corridor putting in work, interested in the information, trying to tap back in, whatever the case may be. If you like Gullah Geechee history, information, and y'all here for that, appreciate you. Appreciate you.
Gullah Geechee Nation. They don't want to know how we the crack we teach so and things like that. Hunter the kind here from Jacksonville, North Carolina, down in Jacksonville, Florida. Hunter the kind to the place where all we ancestors then be come to. From Angola, from Congo, from Gabon, from Cameroon, Nigeria, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Guinea, Sierra Leone, Liberia, where we have formed, and then Chile bring ya the Yui, the Hausa, the Igbo, the Mandinka, then bring the Mende, and then crack it teeth with the Twi, Yui, Vai, Hausa. All of this shall make up 100 children that yet about called African American English now. But this your man, Lorenzo Daltona from North Kakalaki, the one who make them for know this year. So he called him the father of Gullah studies. He no one calls all these other rest of children for coming here. And right who we are. And they know say we the Suntown Ball, we the Crucible of the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, and things like that. And we connect up to all other Creole what they in the world throughout the African diaspora. If Hunter want no more of this year, Hunter have to come to we, where we be. GullahGeechee.net. Grind to the Gullah Geechee Nation.
Words from Queen Quet herself, yo. You know how we be rolling, man. Words from Queen Quet herself. You feel me? But yeah, everybody go ahead and get this thing up and popping, yo. Again, thank y'all for tuning in. We live and direct. Shout out to the YouTube squad, man. Put some GGs in the chat for me. Gullah Griot, Gullah Geechee. Put them G's for that Georgetown. You feel me? Triple G'd up over here for real. Um, shoot. I ain't gonna hold y'all too much longer. We about to get up into it. Get hit that like on y'all way in. Share this with your peoples. You know you got some people that are interested in the Gullah Geechee information. Corridor type jive, official tissue type stuff. Y'all in the right spot. You know what I mean? For real.
Of Georgetown, South Carolina, during the period of Southern American history, from the end of the Civil War through Reconstruction. There's a lot of information out there about the Southern ruling class and how the end of slavery and those things changed and affected them politically, socially, and economically. But there's not a lot of information out there about the vast majority of what was Georgetown's population at the time, which were newly freed Africans. So, how were newly freed Africans able to literally define what freedom meant for themselves? Well, as soon as they could, many of them took advantage of their new right to vote, and then they involved themselves in politics. The Black church was often at the forefront of not only social change, but it was the place where education happened for a lot of newly freed peoples. But Black commerce and Black businesses were also the cornerstone of the ways that African American communities began to stabilize themselves. And so that's what we're going to focus on today. So what we're going to do is that Steve is going to talk to us and take us through business, through Reconstruction. Vinny is going to discuss research methods and the tools that we use to research. And then Dedrick is going to take us through some of those businesses through the 1900s. So we are hoping that you all have lots of questions, and there will certainly be conversation among the panelists. And I hope you all get something good out of this. So, Steve.
Thank you, Zenobia, and greetings to everyone. I particularly want to thank my good friend, Mr. Bob Willie, I know his name, and his wife, Carol. And I see my friend Al Joseph there, and Reverend Carolyn Williams, and so many other people who are friends. I say that one third to half of you are people that I know and I have a very high opinion of. You are my friends. But I want to give a special thank to Miss Lily Jean Johnson for even inviting me to be a part of this panel. She and I have known each other for quite some time, and I have the utmost respect for her. So I'm going to be talking about the period between roughly 1865, even though some of this predates that, and roughly 1900, except officially not segregation, the Reconstruction era ended when the Union Army left in 1877. But Georgetown is unique. There was racial harmony in Georgetown that lasted longer in Georgetown, South Carolina, than any other place in this country because of something called fusion. And Mr. Dedrick Barnes will be talking about that. But I want to open up with a quote from a gentleman by the name of George Orwell. You probably heard of him. He wrote a book. He's written several books, but one of his famous books is 1984. Am I right? Yep. However, that book was not about a year. There's a quote in here that I've used many times, and I love to say it now. And here is the quote: "He who controls the past controls the future, and he who controls the present controls the past. I'm going to say it again. He who controls the past controls the future, and he who controls the present controls the past. Now, why is that important? Because a government, any government, city, county, state, federal, a government can or has the ability to shape the opinions of the people that they govern, all right? And believe you me, here in 2022, that is exactly what's going on now. When you see banning of books, when you see outlawing critical race theory, when you see outlawing even the word woke or gay, then you think of George Orwell, because he who controls the present controls the past. But when we talk about African Americans in Georgetown, or blacks in Georgetown, because we were not considered Americans yet, Georgetown has a particular and an illustrious history of what's going on. And I'm going to read you a quote from General Sherman. You've heard of General Sherman marching through the South. And when he got to the coast, basically all up and down the corridor, the Gullah Geechee corridor, and he saw hordes of blacks, this is what he said. He said, hordes of totally uneducated, ignorant, and improvident blacks have been abandoned by their constitutional guardians, not only to all the future chances of anarchy and starvation, but in such a state of abject ignorance and stolidity as to preclude all possibilities of self-government and self-maintenance. I'm here to tell you and to correct a lot of misconceptions. Many of you, like me, when I was in school, all that I knew about my ancestors here in Georgetown is that we were laborers, we were rice workers. And after the war, we were unfortunate people who just needed all of the help we can. And it is true that we had help from the Freedmen's Bureau. They were God sent. But you're going to see today through this 8-minute video that Georgetown was unique in terms of their ability. Now, don't take my word for it. Some of you are old enough to remember Walter Cronkite, and Richard Pryor had a joke, said, I didn't say it, Walter Cronkite said it. So it gave some legitimacy. This is not coming from Steve Williams. This is coming from one of the renowned historians by the name of Peter Woods. You may have heard of him. Or Charles Joyner. You may have heard of him. Or William Dusenberry. But one that I personally knew, and one of the greatest historians on Georgetown that you could ever have met, was a fella by the name of David Drayton, who was also the principal of Howard. This is what he said. They said that the workers in Georgetown, enslaved workers in Georgetown, were highly skilled in a number of trades. All right. So after 250 years in the starting blocks, when the pistol went off or the word went out to start, Black community was ready. They were finely tuned athletes that did a great deal for Georgetown. You may not know it, but you will after the day. Okay, many of the buildings that are built that were constructed in Georgetown were constructed during this period. How do I know? Well, you could have read about it, but also look at some of the buildings, because the African people left footprints or fingerprints, on the wall, as if to say, we were here too. We matter. We are somebody. All right. And I'll leave you even before the 15th Amendment, there were 700,000 blacks who was registered to vote, and over 2,000 blacks who held official offices throughout the South. And Zenobia was right. The first thing that newly freed Americans did in Georgetown was to vote, register to vote. And the second thing was to reclaim their name. And by reclaiming their name, they reclaimed their humanity. They didn't have last names. And if they were sold to another plantation, they had their names changed. So they were considered insignificant nobodies. But those are the first two things that they did. And I have a quote here by another George. This is George Bernard Shaw. And I like this quote, and I love this quote. And I think of the African-American business community, particularly in Georgetown, during this period with this quote. It says, "This is the joy of life, being used for a purpose, recognizing yourself as a mighty one, being a force of nature, instead of a feverish, selfish little clog of grievances complaining that the world won't devote itself to making you happy. I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the whole community. And as long as I live, it is my privilege to do what I can. I want to be thoroughly used up before I die. For the harder I work, the more I live. I rejoice in life for its own sake. To me, life is no brief candle. To me, it is a sort of splendid torch which I have gotten hold of just for a moment, and I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it to the future generations. So we're going to see and celebrate, because we are the future generation, what these great people did during that period. How do I know? First, my daddy told me. Second, I looked it up. I'm a researcher and a writer. And third, like I said, just go to some of these old 200, 300-year buildings and just look at some of the holes. That'll tell you that it's the gospel. Thank you. We're going to look at this 8.5 minutes.
You got me hype over here. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, I'm in control of this, Mr. Willie. Let me get the lights.
They waited for 250 years. They governed their Christian tongues, disciplined their disappointments, and waited for their chance to show what they could do. Finally, in 1865, they got their chance. So what do I call a group of people who produced extraordinary educators and entrepreneurs, legendary leaders and activists, powerful preachers and politicians? I call them Georgetown's Black community during the Reconstruction era. In 1865, with the ugly scars of slavery indelibly printed on their minds, a progressive group of Black leaders thought it not robbery to lift their community out of the dark depths of poverty and ignorance into the majestic heights of knowledge and prosperity. Through their spirit of unity, self-determination, collective work, and cooperative economics, they set the trajectory for a generational success. From its beginnings, Georgetown's economy was based on agriculture, particularly rice. But after the Civil War, due to inclement weather and the lack of free labor, Georgetown's economy failed because rice production was no longer possible. In its heyday, rice was the driving engine that sustained the city's economy, but it was all built on the backs of forced labor. Enslaved Africans brought much of the knowledge about cultivating rice with them from Africa. They were the ones that cleared the dense swamps using a sophisticated system of dividing the field from the river by canals, ditches, or floodgates. They were skilled craftsmen who built the mansions they called big houses, rice mills, slave cabins, rice barns, flat boats, rowboats, dugout canoes, and floodgates that flooded and drained the rice fields. But during the years that immediately followed the Civil War, there was social, political, and economic turbulence. The rice economy that put Georgetown on the map was over, and it would be 30 years before another major industry would come to town. Despite the crippled economy, which was nothing new for formerly enslaved people, the newly freed Black community saw opportunities in their obstacles, and others saw obstacles in their opportunities. Several prominent Blacks stepped in to save the city from going under. One such citizen was Edward L. Rainey, a successful merchant and the father of Joseph Haynes Rainey. Edward Rainey organized other Blacks in the community, urging them to pool their money and resources for the construction of a free school for Black students. The school was called the Georgetown Colored Academy, which would later become the legendary Howard School. Renowned historians Peter Wood, Charles Joyner, William Dusenberry, and David Drayton were among the first historians to report that enslaved laborers in Georgetown County were highly skilled in a variety of trades, including carpentry, masonry, blacksmithing, and dozens more. Many of these skills were developed over their centuries of free labor in America, but just as many were brought over from Africa, where they were practiced for centuries. Passed down through generations, these skills were put to use during the difficult days of the Reconstruction era. Hundreds, if not thousands, of houses, churches, and buildings were built throughout Georgetown County by these gifted craftsmen. In 1994, the Committee on African American History Observances, better known as CAHO, commissioned a study on just how many black businesses once operated on Front Street, Georgetown's commercial district. Roughly between 1865 and 1910, there were more than 30 black-owned and operated businesses on Front Street. These businesses included but were not limited to barbershops, meat markets, blacksmiths, brick masons, banking firms, building contractors, carpenters, dry cleaners, drugstores, furniture stores, grocery shops, general stores, insurance companies, livery stables, newspaper publishers, restaurants, riverboat pilots, shoe shops, shoemakers, tailors, and other street merchants. The study was financed from generous grants from the South Carolina Arts Council, the South Carolina Humanities Council, the South Carolina State Museum, and McKissick Museum at the University of South Carolina. It debunked the myth that post-war blacks were a hapless, helpless, and hopeless group of people unable to survive without government assistance or their so-called masters. While it's true that the Freedmen's Bureau was a godsend to formerly enslaved people, it is equally true that from 1865 to 1910, black businesses kept the city of Georgetown afloat by driving the economy. This should not come as a surprise considering the fact that, at the time, 90% of its residents were black. Two of the unsung business heroes during Reconstruction were Augustus T. Carr and Philip Washington. Before the war, Augustus Carr, a free black man, ran a successful livery stable. It is said that his horses and carriages were regarded as the finest in the city. However, during the war, Confederate authorities completely confiscated all of his animals and carriages, leaving him penniless. Despite losing everything, this could not break Carr's spirit. Early in 1865, he founded and organized Bethel AME Church, becoming the first black sanctuary in Georgetown and the first organization of any kind owned and controlled by blacks. Bethel quickly became the social, political, educational, economic, and religious resource center for the black community at a time when there was none. Born and raised on Sandy Island, Philip Washington, the patriarch of Sandy Island, was highly intelligent and better educated than most of his peers. He was respected and beloved by nearly everyone. A born winner, he was living beneath his potential. Being a slave, even an extraordinary one, severely limited his life opportunities. He longed for one thing, a chance to prove he was more than an enslaved laborer. When the war was over, Washington got his chance. He moved to Georgetown, where federal occupation in the years following the Civil War afforded formerly enslaved people opportunities in business and politics. He became so successful in business that he purchased a home on Front Street in the wealthiest section of the town. But soon the winds of change began to blow. After the Union Army left the South in 1877, Washington realized that he and others like him could no longer prosper in a climate of racial hatred. So he decided to return to his beloved Sandy Island, only this time with a plan. Washington planned to establish a self-sustained, self-sufficient community on his beloved Sandy Island. Selling his luxurious house on Front Street and using the profits to purchase a few acres of land on Sandy Island, he and his fellow Sandy Islanders slowly began building their self-sustaining community. Just as they had done for centuries, they grew rice and sold it in local markets. Only this time, they were working for themselves. Led by Philip Washington, the formerly enslaved people on Sandy Island prospered far beyond what was expected of them. In 1890, Philip Washington died, but not before accumulating an incredible amount of personal wealth. Showing a remarkable ability to diversify his holdings, Washington's estate of furniture, cattle, silver, municipal bonds, houses, land, and thousands of dollars in the Bank of Georgetown was valued at around $6,000, which in today's market is equivalent to $175,000. Despite his wealth, Philip Washington helped his people by laying the foundation for generational success. Before the coming of 1900 and all of the big houses which would later take over Georgetown's Front Street, the success of black businesses on Front Street proved that given a level playing field, blacks in Georgetown could compete with anyone, just as Jackie Robinson would later do in years to come.
Thing is, I'm a field worker and a bag lady, so y'all got that experience with me today.
She take a little minute to get into it. Somebody speed
First
it
of
up
all,
just a tad bit.
in patients or whatever. And the uniqueness of it, even before I could start writing and producing, I got to find the words. Sometimes the research would take about, oh, you see here, it takes many times and going through so many archives to find the exact fitting picture, the exact demographics. Demographic mean where is somebody at this place and that place? Where are the buildings? Everything has to go from, I always call it throwing out the net. You got to throw the net out, I mean wide. And then you pull the net back in. And when you bring the net back in, you're going to have, it's like stripping.
I'm gonna pause it
Net
real
out,
quick.
bring it in, and you
For this sister right here, I really highly recommend paying attention to her because she talking about the methodology. We looking up 1865, early 1900s, so we can't, like you said, some of them even start before 1865, right? So the methodology to get the accurate information, some legit stuff, some dope ass primaries, right? I really pay attention because she really giving up the game. I know brothers like True Story and Sanera, Born, everybody I be kicking it with, you know what I'm saying, Vi, you know what I mean, so on and so forth, or boom, 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 the people that really care about the research, not a coincidence, so on and so forth, Shine and whatnot, Sutek. These people, right? And others, right? Not too many to name. But boom, like just the type of shit that really matter. This separate the real information from that weirdo pseudo stuff that got me calling people agents. You feel me? The white supremacist talking points. So yeah, she giving the game. I highly recommend you people like you take heed to it. And shout out to Georgetown because everybody I be playing be from Georgetown, man, for the most part. So yeah, here we go.
out the shrimp that you want. And with writing, I would say 95, 90% of the shrimp is going to be thrown back in the water, thrown it down, because there will only be a certain thing that will be significant to your project. So you can imagine that. So where, this is, it's so funny. I'm giving you something that I do. If you ever see me, I'm sitting in a park, writing, writing, writing. That's all I do. But I'm going to try to give you a synopsis of how I do this when I'm trying to produce a project. And I'm going to go to the point. I'm sorry, I'm not going to throw the net yet for you, but let me bring you in first. I had to figure out if all this is true, how can I find the proof that it's true? So, one of the main things that I use in trying to, and believe me, this could be a year project. This is week 2 of the year project, if I was going to do it. I had to figure out where the names were and the people were documented in different documents. And one of the main things when I'm this bringing it in for the Georgetown, I'm talking about buildings, I'm talking about people, I'm talking about what people are doing. So some of the basic tools that I would be using would be census records. And I don't know if you know it, but census records every 10 years for all our creation. So I have to narrow down what 10 years is most significant to me understanding the African American structure as far as merchants and people of intelligence. I won't say just everybody's intelligent, but people of craftsmen, artisans, and everything. So interesting, I went to 1870 first. Why 1870? It's because it's right after the Civil War when emancipation is getting set in. The other thing is that if I went earlier than 1870, the African descendants or Africans that were enslaved or enslaved would be they will only be first names, not last names. It's not until after emancipation and by 1880 that people are getting their last name. And something else is striking that I learned from the census record is that Not everybody were enslaved. Not all blacks were enslaved. And not say they had all the great grandest freedom, but they're not all enslaved. So even in 1860, 1850, I will be able to see their first name and their last name in the census record. That tells me they're free people of color. And I have a shock to you. In urban setting like Georgetown, Columbia, I would say 45% of the people in Georgetown and Columbia are free people, free of color. They're not enslaved. So when you scratch your head, like, how did they come so far so fast? They've been back there a long time ago. They've been these people. They were educated. They were artisans. They were free all those time. And this would be a little quaint, little
With
short
her
story.
saying that, shout out to each one teach one,
And I'm
yo,
not
because that be
naming
their
it.
main teaching topic. Free like free Africans and free African descent people, man. So I mean, I gotta give it up where it's up. You feel me? Down, you see how the elder right here, piece of the sister as well. She remind me of my auntie for real, for real, for real. But yeah, you see how she's talking about all these free people of color. If you follow the Each One Teach One Discord or the Gullah Geechee Discord, I mean, it's a whole bunch of information as far as free people and whatnot. And I start where I stand, so a whole bunch of my stuff just be South Carolina orientated. You feel me? So yeah, either Virginia, but yeah, or the corridor related, and then where I be at. So yeah, word up, big up to the free people of color, man. Um, yeah, we're gonna keep it rolling.
Naming any specific group of people or family. Some of these children, some of these people were descendants of the whites, their daughters and their sons. So through that process, a lot of time they could get their freedom, and that's why they're called people free of color. Go from here. I'm still throwing that net. Let me pull this net more to you. Now, the other thing that I find that is essential with the African American community is oral history. Um, my mother is 97 years old. She's in a home. She's still pretty up to it. But I have interviewed her at least 10 times because once she passed away, I will never have that unwritten history again. Never. She will die with all those essential family history. And the other thing, when I moved her from her house, another thing that was essential to me for her history, they always have a like a chest to drawer, and they pull that. This is the last thing they're gonna pull, and they like I'll say like my mom did me. At night, she sits me on her bed, and she brings out this kind of chest box, and in this chest box, it is my father's resignation letter, or what do you do with military? It gets written out, discharge papers. I see her marriage certificate. All of that is in this little box. So if she should die and she didn't have a daughter like me, what you think would happen to her? It's gone. So not only the oral history, but what these people are holding on to is essential to understanding the lives of people. Now I'm going, now that I got the people, I got the person now. Let's put the person here. The next thing I got to figure out, where in the world does these people live? Oh yeah, by the way, let me go back to the census a minute. In the census record, it's not only tell you what race they are, because sometimes they say mulatto. Anyone knows what mulatto is? They,
Mixed.
yeah, mixed. They are black, they're white, people are black and white. But the other thing is great about the census record, not all of them, but the later ones will tell you what they did for a living. That's how that wonderful, let me tell you how they got that. I got a secret for you. That's how they got all of that. By looking at the census record, it will show you what the occupation of that person was that after that 10 years. You could be a wheeler, and children are in it too. That means the kids are in school, they write in school. So again, you'll get some feel of who these people are through the census record. Now, something that you may not know about. Let's go down to, I told you the people. I think I got the people in place. Let's go to to where they live, the buildings that is important to their lives. And this is an amazing, amazing book. It's called City Directory. Has anybody ever seen the City Directory? Mm, the reason I've said that, I think I was like 50 before I saw one. This is the City Directory. So this actually comes before the telephone books. It's similar to the telephone book. But what I like about this is it gives you a history as significant as you get in the census record. I just put my finger on one. I got it. Dunmore Dewey. He's colored. He's a carpenter. He's a resident or in the rear of this building of this land, 415 High Market. That's a lot of information. To set me where, and I found a carpenter, amen, on my first shelf. Good, good, good. So this is what a city directory is. The other thing that I use, and I'm only giving you the broad scope of the big things. I'm going to go to the little things in a minute. But the other thing that I don't know anybody ever seen these. That's why I said be careful because they are very rare. It's a sandbone maps. I'll show you.
Let me hold it for you, Ben.
So let's see. Does this look like your city?
Yeah, I got it upside down.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The sandbone maps. Do we have it right now? We like king is there, lady is there. Let's go where we're not right. Well, we've got to be okay. Prince is there. Okay, we got it. So basically, what you'll see, and you guys want to ask, what the world is those maps? They were in Sandburg. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Was an insurance company, and they surveyed every building in Georgetown County, in Georgetown the city, usually urban. Not this is not seen in rural areas. Normally, urban areas, you see a Sandburg map. Now, why I feel it is incredible because, and I know y'all can relate to it more than I do because I was in here for years. These buildings actually designed like the buildings on the property. Now this is front over here. And the other unique thing about this collection of information, it actually tells you what the building is. Like this is a movie. This is when you see D, that's dwelling. That means someone's living there.
Can you walk it up and down?
She's gonna bring it. She's gonna bring it.
Yeah, when she gets done, I'll walk it up and down.
Okay. And another unique thing, okay, I said I'm in this plaque of this block, not block, but this plaque. That means I had a house when I was growing up. We had a big house in the front, and we had a cottage in the back. So in this is similar. Every building on this plot will be listed in this and drawn out. I just won't see anything else. Okay, I see a furniture warehouse. I see Georgia canning, shrimp canning. I see the city repair shop. Because that Front Street was mainly an industrial city. Okay? Yeah, sure. All of them could go around. Each one is different. Each of them are a different block, all over Georgetown. These are, I got to give credit. These are sitting right in your library. They're in your library. That's why be careful. These are archives. People know how I feel about archives. Don't damage them. These are archives out of your building. Matter of fact, the city directory is out of this building also.
And this is just right here in my hometown of Georgetown, South Carolina Public Library. So again, got paying attention, city directories, censuses, and whatnot. I mean, now I certain people like True Story and they would know them tell you I get a library card, like for real. They be, they say it in a kind of way, but like for real, like get a library card, Joe. You know what I'm saying? Well, yeah.
So basically, what I have now, I have a triangle. I have a triangle. That nest is created a triangle, and I got to blend all those together. I know where the person lived. I know maybe where he worked or where he had a business. And most important, I sat down and did at least an hour interview with his great grandmother. So I got a lot of pieces to put together. So now I'm going to put the pieces together. And I guess you say, well, that's all to work. No, it isn't. A lot more work. The other thing that I have to look at is I got my list here. I'm probably not even a complete list. I have to go to the county courthouse building and look up vital records, deed records, and stuff like that. Lot is in the county, right on downtown. It's a courthouse. Original deed records. Original. Now, one thing about the deed records, it is not like the urban setting here. I can find deeds, plaques, even earlier, it's called plaque of plantations and rice fields. I don't know that word. Rice fields. There were tons of rice fields. There were tons of rice growers. And a lot of people don't realize this. I'm going to say this. This is my rice museum script. They brought in thousands of people from the green coast of West Africa. And one planter, I call him a planter, he has placed at least 500 to 1,000 people on this field. I don't say the word plantation, on the field. And there is a hard spot on that field where they could build their houses. And this is a research I'm doing now. Build their houses, I call the tribal villages. And I'll tell you in a minute why I call it tribal village. Then outside of that, you will see the rice fields and all the canals. Now it's interesting that no one knows that story either. Because all I hear about is plantation. That has nothing to do with nothing. These rice fields are what we went into to bring in all this rice. And what is also shocking, like in this beautiful video, they came as rice growers. These 1,000 people were called out of West Africa as rice growers. And I always make this point. I said they come in, the colonists go to start this slaves institution. So when they go the Green Coast of West Africa, they're getting the West African rice growers. They're getting the West African rice, very rare rice, by the way. And I don't know if they intended to do it, but they got the West African mosquito. And by chance, the West African mosquito had malaria. So even if the owners and everybody else out there want to come and help these rice growers, which if you ever been in a rice field, you know not, but they were catching malaria. So why weren't the West African dying day by day with the malaria? Yeah, they died sometime, but they had immunity to it. So that's why they were able to stay out there and do rice growing. So I just want you to feel sense of place. Okay, let me go down my list again. Newspapers. You think you could go and dial up, put a name in, and find that newspaper. You'll hear all those records about someone, or even the businesses. But believe it or not, I've done it. And amen, we don't have the microfilm anymore because it used to make me nauseous. You have to go page for page for page for page until you see something is significant to what you're looking for. Could be an advertisement. It could be that they want to take the land from the person. It could be that his wife and all her girlfriends had a wonderful party that night and wanted to talk about how wonderful that party were at their house, and you'll get more specific names. So the newspaper is incredibly important. Mm. Okay, yeah, so I have the gift of gab. That's why I didn't bring the video. Okay, one more. This is a very important one. This is my last one. No. I want to just tell you something real quickly. This comes from the county courthouse. And I was looking for the Humes, because they are good friends of mine, the Hume family. I said, I'm going to look for one family, that's Hume. When I,
The Hume family, Barbara Hume's family.
okay, Interesting enough, when I found this, again, looking page for page for page, I found this. This dates back to, sorry about this. I'll find the date in a sec. Oh, 1942. There's a house belonging to Jonathan A. Baxter. He's dead. He's died. So the land has to be transferred to his daughter, Barbara B. Sawyer, born Baxter, and also Marion B. Paul, middle name Baxter. That didn't throw me off my feet. The people that signed this, I know it's later in the days. I know some of you will recognize it. These are the people who signed this: G.W. Howard, J.W. Wallace Jr., Bertha Sawyer, and Marion Paul. Well, I could take these four names and go wild with these. They are all here together signing a very, very important document. So, and this came out of the deed. This came out of the deed book in Georgetown County. Now, I think that's about it.
But so far, what she talking about, very, very important. Because I mean, me personally, with my own family history and whatnot, yo, Wilson Dozier, who's my great grandfather, bought 85 acres and whatnot. Also bought land in the city of Georgetown. You feel what I'm saying? So you got Bethel A and me. You got certain names over there with streets over there. You got Pyatt. You got Dozier. You know what I'm saying? Which is right adjacent to King Street, which is where the Gullah Museum's at, where I be telling you about all the damn time. You feel me? So yeah, what she just got up talking about very, very important shit, man. As far as the methodology, the courthouses, the public library, a whole bunch of primaries and records is at. You feel me? This is the last segment right here of this video. We're gonna get into specific businesses that's on Front Street. You feel me? So the first speaker gave a background, gave a history, in a dope 8 minute video that we also watched. Sister right here went through the methodology, right? People be out here pseudo with their weird information, man. And they be having my culture and talking points that ain't that. You feel me? So yeah, we gonna keep going.
Good morning, everyone. I promise I won't hold you long as I bring up the rear here. Um, Brother Williams mentioned earlier about the unique situation Georgetown found itself in after the Reconstruction, which was primarily political in fusion politics. It transcended, however, to commerce. And so, as I would do my students during any other time, if you follow this board over here to my right, your left, it lists 29 African American businesses, merchants, people of commerce between 1865 and 1910. And if you will indulge me, I'll read that list. The first name on the list was W.C. Atkinson and Sons Meat Market. Perhaps the most detailed bit of information about any of these merchants that could be gleaned so far is on the life of Mr. William Christopher Atkinson. His sons were Theodore, Huger, and Ernest. Their meat market, according to the work of Miss Ramona LaRoche in her Black American series, Georgetown, South Carolina, the family's business was first located on the 700 block of Front Street, 709 Front. It later moved to the 800 block of Front Street, 822 Front Street. Munchie Brown, I do too. There are several of them that jumped and spoke to me. But Munchie Brown, that seemed like somebody down the street off the airport. He too owned a meat market, the 900 block of Front Street. Willie and George Robinson. There is no industry listed. However, it is known for sure that a business was located on the 900 block of Front Street. L.A. Coit, shoemaker. Emma Gadsden, general store. Robert Wilson, huckster. Andrew Ferguson, blacksmith. James Harold, blacksmith. North Carolina Mutual Insurance. To any African American who has a family that has been here for longer than a generation, you would know the surname Dunmore. Mr. Lawrence Dunmore Insurance. I'm actually old enough now, Mr. Chapman, to remember old man Dunmore driving around Georgetown. Latson McCoy, shoe store. W.E. Dennison, barbershop, the corner of Front and Orange Street. Sarah Moultrie, restaurant. Primus Small, grocery store, 800 block above Orange. Ben James and Frazier, Taylor, dry cleaner, the 900 block. John Hughes, barbershop. Elizabeth Flowers, drugstore. McCuthery, Robinson, and Jackson Building and Loan Association, brokerage and banking firm. Edward L. Rainey, retail merchant. P.M. Harlot, retail merchant. Pinky Gordine, blacksmith. John Singleton, grocery store. John Washington, barbershop. Ladson Wineglass, barbershop. Marcus Richardson, shoe store. A. J. Gill, tailor. Benji Williams, tailor. Philip Brunson, tailor. And Dr. B. H. Eaton, drugstore. 1865 to 1910, and I'm going to sit down. I do want to add, however, this was just Front Street. For a, I guess it's really telling me it's time to sit down.
Don't touch that.
I'll take the cue. Cue. Georgetown, 29 businesses on Front Street in a 35-year span of time. When I taught U.S. history, I always taught that the most fascinating years in American history happened between 1865 and 1900. Georgetown certainly was not excluded from the hub of activity that was taking place, most certainly the activities in commerce. Please also know, as I take my seat, and this was something that the panel wrestled with, and Ms. Johnson, with her very, if anyone knew Ms. Johnson in the classroom, in her very strict way said, no, Front Street. But if you were to study commerce in Georgetown, you would know that it extended well beyond Front Street. Certainly along the Front Street corridors, namely King Street. When I was a child here, and I'm looking at 50. I look 70, but I'm looking at 50. But when I was a child here, there was not almost a community that did not have an African American business. Times have changed, we have progressed. As such, newer ordinances have come about and taken place, and so communities have changed and morphed over time. So we no longer see the amount of African American businesses in communities the way we did. But I stand firm to say that the entrepreneurial spirit that birthed not only these 29 businesses on Front Street in the years after the Civil War spoke volumes, but I would also venture to say that the rest of the spirits that they birthed still speak to us. We may not necessarily see them in brick and mortar businesses, but the spirit has not died. And the African American entrepreneurial spirit is still alive and well, not only in Georgetown, but Georgetown County. Thank you, and I think we're ready.
Boom. You know what I mean? Black businesses in Georgetown. You know what I mean? I appreciate y'all. Sure, I'm gonna throw the link in here real quick. See if somebody want to come on, build or whatever, or got a question. Everything Gucci. I don't know if it's a Georgetown thing or what, but like the brother was saying, I ain't gonna hold y'all too long. You know what I mean? But yeah, we out here chilling, man. We cool, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. It's Gullah TV. You know, we out here chilling, man. We vibing, yo. If y'all new to the channel, please, I highly recommend going through the live section of my channel, going through the community page. Shit, I just posted an event today. That's going to be at the museum on King Street. Natalie Dyson, Round Dyson, yo. Felly from Gullah, Island. We live in Georgetown now. Ron from St. Helena, I believe, if I recall correctly. And yeah, they got another event coming up. I posted that. So yeah, y'all, I'm always active, yo. I'm always tapped in, spreading information and whatnot. For real. You know what you, man. And again, leave a like, share, whatnot. You know what I mean? We out here be chilling, man. I mean, you know, I got a little bit of time right now. So I can show y'all some more shit. You know what I mean? You can build on whatever. Yeah, just out of Georgetown. In this thing, man. Got Debbie in the club. Everybody, the Greens, the Scotts, the Castles, the Presleys, everybody, yo. The Lee Smiths. Everybody. But I also got to tell y'all to check out the tour I did of Georgetown Maritime Museum. If you don't know, there's some talking points out here that's misrepresenting the Gullah people, and even just places of where we come from. Charleston, St. Helena, beautiful, Georgetown, Savannah, all through Florida and whatnot. You feel me? There's a whole bunch of talking points out here in this internet world and whatnot. Yeah, that's the reason why I made this channel, yo. For me to, because like, first off, I believe in start where you stand. So can't nobody tell me about me and where I'm from. You feel me? And then secondly, the stuff that people be talking about is misinformation. It's pseudo. It's fake. It ain't real. It ain't right. All the elders I've been playing, y'all, where they come from, whether they be from channels from Georgetown Public Library or whatever. Nobody, you ain't heard not one Aboriginal yet. For real. All you hear is Africa, Rice Coast, you feel me? Lorenzo Dal Turner, and a whole bunch of cultural stuff. Basket weaving, nets, boats, you know what I mean? How we tilled the land for the rice. Man, there's weirdo stuff y'all be hearing on the internet. You feel me? I ain't gonna say nobody's name to get no kind of light. Because some of the people that really follow my channel don't know me be knowing about the pseudo shit. For real, they be out the loop on that shit. And I ain't even about to attract them to none of that weirdo shit at all. Excuse me for cussing. Shout out to Mama Pat. Shout out to Aunt Debbie, man. And Victoria's mom, man. Yeah. We really stepped and approved of it. And Dr. Torre, we go so man. What that 912, man. What's up, man? Yeah. Word up. And everybody that's coming in, appreciate y'all very, everybody. You feel me? All right. Wayne, Gullah, Brazilian mom. Georgetown, the Carver's Bay, shout out to Browns family, shout out to Georgetown, all too. All right. Chad, what's happening? What up with you, man? What's going on? Bro. So with you, Jalen, you know? All the new ones, y'all the homies, man, for real. But y'all know what I'm about to say. I'm not about to hold y'all too long, man. Before we wrap this thing up, you know I gotta play my little video. Send this thing all right.
Years after you get free, you still getting fucked out of job and shot at by police. You see what I'm saying? This guy gets it. I like him. He's getting angry. Angry is good. Angry gets shit done. You shed tears for Kumpe and Nancy, and here he is telling you, you are staring down the barrel of 300 years of subjugation, racist bullshit, and heart disease. He is telling you there is one goddamn reason you shouldn't go up there right now and slit the throats of every last one of these Dutch motherfuckers and set fire to this ship.
Mana, ubomele ga boko, nini le ga wo.
You already dead, asshole. At least die a sacrifice for something worthwhile. Let the motherfucker burn. Let it all